Time's up on the Harris basement strategy. Liberal media minions need to do their jobs. The progressive lapdogs in our gaslighting media should stiffen their spines and demand that Harris stop hiding behind surrogates and speak for herself. It has now been over 3 weeks since Kamala Harris became the presumptive nominee of the Democratic Party, and in that time, she has not deigned to give a single interview or hold a single press conference, aside from answering 2 questions on a tarmac Thursday. We have gone from Biden, Harris to Hidin Harris. It is unacceptable, it is dangerous, and it's time for the fawning members of America's liberal news media, aka de facto members of the Harris-Walz team, to step up and demand better. Harris mocked for taking less than 2 minutes of questions after 18 days. This is the best Kamala could do. Less than 2 weeks from now, our unremarkable vice president is set to accept the nomination in Chicago. For the first time in modern American history, she will not only have received no votes this cycle, but may well not do one interview as a candidate for president. Instead of actually hearing from the person vying to be the most powerful leader in the world, we get campaign officials and surrogates, mouthpieces for a candidate in hiding who cannot speak without them. But that should stop now. The progressive lapdogs in our gaslighting media should stiffen their spines and demand that Harris stop hiding behind surrogates and speak for herself. Anything less from her campaign is just a trial balloon that can be walked back while they throw spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. Just Thursday, Harris campaign advisor Phil Gordon took to X to state that his candidate does support an arms embargo against Israel after reporting in the New York Times suggested it was being discussed. Sorry, Phil, we can't just accept your word for it. Harris has to say it. Kamala Harris finally fields questions from press after dodging media for 18 days since becoming Dem nominee. Let's say a campaign spokesperson like Jen O'Malley Dillon goes on a Sunday show and says Harris would allow fracking for the next 25 years and setting it after. If Republicans get traction saying, see, she wants to ban fracking, or if leftists gain traction saying this is too much fracking, Harris can simply say, Jen misspoke as to my position, and change it. Our liberal media is under no obligation to enable this obfuscation. In fact, Americans would respect them more if they started to do their jobs. It is time to demand that the campaign give us the actual candidate, the person who can't claim words or a position were taken out of context. After all, there are questions that need answers amid the most unorthodox presidential election most people alive have ever seen. For instance, when did you realize Biden was incapable of running for a second term? Why wasn't this decision made earlier to allow a fulsome process to choose a candidate that gave voters a voice? Is President Biden making the decisions today? Do you regret helping to raise bail money for criminals who burned down parts of Minneapolis under your running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's watch? You say in speeches that on day one you will start fighting inflation, but why isn't the Biden-Harris administration already doing that? Click here for more Fox News opinion. Even if your border portfolio was dealing with the root causes of mass illegal immigration, do you bear any responsibility for the Americans murdered under your administration by illegal immigrants? You get the idea. It is not a short list of questions. And at this point, asking them of campaign officials does more harm than good. They can't actually answer them. All they are doing is using the news media as their own private polling firm. It is time for Kamala Harris to get out of the basement. She now says she's working to schedule an interview by the end of the month, 3 weeks from now, and only schedule one, not do one. It is absurd. There is no reason on earth why somebody who wants to be president needs a month and a half to prepare for one interview. If elected, it is Harris who will get the 3 a.m. phone call, and she won't have 45 days to respond. It is time to demand that Harris speak for herself. The American voters deserve nothing less. Click here to read more from David Marcus.